Welcome, everyone, to Unscripted. Tonight, we sit down with someone whose story reflects what it really means to step into a space that's constantly evolving and find your own voice within it. In an industry often dominated by noise, speculation, and fast moving headlines, there are people quietly building, learning through experiences, and creating communities along the way. Our guest tonight is someone who has lived that journey firsthand. Her path didn't start in crypto. It began in traditional industries like automotive, exports, and real estate, where she developed a sharp understanding of markets, negotiations, and opportunities. Those early experiences shaped an entrepreneurial mindset that would later translate into something much bigger. Around the mid 2010s, she stepped into the world of Bitcoin and digital assets. Like many early participants, the journey was far from perfect. There were early trades, lessons learned the hard way, moments of excitement, and moments of humility. But instead of walking away, she leaned in. She studied the markets, built connections, and embraced the unpredictable nature of the space. Over time, she found a way to blend business, creativity, and community. Through content creation, networking, and entrepreneurial ventures, she began helping others navigate the same world she once had to figure out on her own. Her work today spans Web3 development, brand building, education, and projects that aim to bridge the gap between traditional finance and decentralized technologies. Beyond the business side, she is also someone deeply grounded in real life, a mother of three, balancing family, entrepreneurship, and a fast moving industry. Someone who openly shares the highs, lows of building in public, reminding others that growth rarely happens in a straight line. She's also using her platform for impact, organizing charity drives that bring joy to children in underserved communities, and encouraging others to believe that where you start does not determine where you go. Her journey stretches from Canada to Mexico City, from the traditional markets to the frontier of crypto innovation. And through it all, she has carried a message of resilience, curiosity, and community. Some know her for her bold personality, some know her for her work in the crypto space, and many know her by name that blends with a little glamour with a lot of grit. Tonight, we go unscripted with the one and only Bitcoin. Bitcoin Barbie.
Hi,
Hello, gorgeous. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm so excited to get on this show. I've been watching, and this is exciting for me. Congratulations. How many episodes is this now?
I think I probably am close to, if not, I've already hit 50. I need a go count. I
Love
haven't kept
it.
track, but I know I was over 30 last month. Yeah, I think it should already be well over 50, if I'm not
Love,
mistaken, but
love.
need to count it. But I am so excited that you came on the show. I know we had to cancel one, so thank you so much for being patient with me and still coming back on.
Of course. Of
But
course.
I wanted to talk to you because, in this space, sometimes people just see the surface, they see the cover of one, but they never understand the journey that we had to go through get here. And your story is layered, it is bold, it is evolving, and it's still been written in real time because you've gone through so much, in the last year that I've kind of known you through spaces and on this platform. But before we get into everything that you are building and where you are going, I want to go back for a moment. Uh, because behind every story there is a presence, there's a starting point that most people never see. When people hear Bitcoin Barbie, they see the confidence, the energy, the presence that you have, but who are you when the cameras are off?
Oh, that's such a good question. I feel I'm always like, I never know what I'm doing, but somehow I just continually do it. Like I'm constantly just in this state of flow. Not just in the crypto space. It's like, okay, what are we gonna do today? I like, you know, I just have such a good joy for life. I can honestly say that. Um, like you said, highs and lows, I feel them both, but who am I really behind the doors? I mean, like you said, I'm a mother, a lot of that, as I have a toddler now, that takes up a lot of time, even and on and off spaces. I know you guys have heard the dino in the background. Hopefully he stays asleep this whole interview, but that yeah, like that's a big part of who I am, but it's not a defining role. I was thinking about that earlier today, actually. It's like mother is a really important role. But when your kids grow up, and I've started to realize like when your kids grow up, it's hard, like, because now you're trying to become something new. And I feel like this whole time of my motherhood, I've just constantly already been this like other person that just remains um adventurous and fun. And yeah, hopefully I answered.
Yes. Now you okay, so we're gonna get into it. And then I am so curious, what even started your journey from moving from Canada all the way to Mexico City and how the heck that is going. But before we get there, you've lived in different worlds from traditional business to crypto. Where do you feel the most misunderstood in your journey?
Ooh, I think honestly, okay, so misunderstood, I'm not sure if I feel really, I don't know if I feel misunderstood too much, but I do feel like I'm constantly like changing hats. And I
Mm-hmm.
think part of that is difficult because I think it brings on a little bit of like imposter syndrome. But it's
Yeah.
like I said, it's like somehow I always make things happen. I'm constantly doing them and I find the solutions, but I never know like am I, and I'm half the time I'm like, am I even qualified to do this? Like, but then I get it done and it's great. And it's like, oh, okay, like I guess I am. But yeah, I think the place I feel misunderstood, maybe I would say, is just like the obvious, which is like being the like, the Barbie and bringing that to the table while still being able to like do my job and put things together and get things done, but still kind of being this little bit of fireball, like blonde girl running through this male dominated space.
Oh, wild, wild west, right? Okay, so how did you select Bitcoin Barbie and make that your identity?
That's a good
Not
question.
completely your identity, but like here, it's like crypto, and then if we're gonna be face fronting, become some kind of I don't want to call us KOLs, but or influencers, but you are, I would say, a media personality, and sometimes you do develop another alter ego or whatnot. What came about you developing Bitcoin Barbie?
So it actually like really didn't start as anything. I was just playing around and just make when I first got into crypto, and I like just happened to make the Instagram. And actually at first it was the Bitcoin baby, but and then I changed it because everyone literally called me like everyone's always like, "Oh, you're a Barbie. Oh, you're a Barbie." So I don't know, out of nowhere one day I was like, "Oh, why wouldn't I have just done it as Bitcoin Barbie first?" So I changed it over to Bitcoin Barbie. And it was just kind of like a catchy little name. And then, like I've been in crypto since dabbling since 2016, but took it more seriously and kind of came up with the Bitcoin Barbie in 2018. Um, and I think not until like the end of 2019, 2020, when like things were starting to pick up again, like the buzz was starting to pick up, and all of a sudden I kind of just like fell into this role where people were like, "Oh, Barb," like it became like who I was in a sense.
Mhm.
Like everyone was just like, "Oh, she's Barbie. Oh, she's the Bitcoin Barbie. She's the Bitcoin Barbie." And so it kind of just started like that. And then I started taking it seriously. And I started branding myself. And when I would go to like conferences, people would be like, "I'm following you. I'm following." And it was like the weirdest thing. 'Cause it was just like, I never meant for any of this to happen. Like I
Yeah.
kind of was just playing around, and then here we are, 10 years later. So um I don't know if I feel I'm pretty raw and real, like when I'm speaking on
Mhm.
spaces or in public. I think I'm pretty like I'm an open book pretty much. So I don't think there's like a personality difference between Barbie and Sydney. Um, Actually, like majority of my friends outside of crypto still call me Barbie. Like everyone kind of just calls me Barbie now. It's kind of
So
been just
that's
a
just okay. Okay.
yeah.
Let me see. I don't know why I'm
See, I
getting
don't know why
feedback.
I'm getting feedback.
Do you hear that?
Do you hear
Double.
that? Double.
I don't hear it.
Okay, good. Then it's
Okay,
just
good.
me.
Then it's just me.
Okay. Was there
Okay,
ever a
was there ever
moment
a
where
moment where
you
you
question if this
question
habit
if this
really
habit really
meant for you
meant
and what
for
kept
you
you
and what
going
kept
when
you going
it got
when
hard?
it got
Oh my gosh, so many times. Especially like I'm the only one in my family who understands this. As many people in this space, right? So every time things get a little bit tough, and, I have to hear from my like circle, like, "Well, why don't you just do this, or why don't you just do this?" I'm like, "I've been here 10 years. I'm here. Like this is my career." Um, but yeah, I think yeah, I've definitely had doubts. Um, Again, kind of that whole imposter syndrome thing, right? Like, I don't
Mhm.
know. I feel like that's something that's common when you step into worlds that you didn't necessarily expect or see yourself in, which is crypto. I just stumbled on it. It wasn't like I was seeking to get into this place. Like I said, it kind of just evolved and happened just through basic interest. And so, yeah, I think I've definitely had my moments where I'm like, should I even be here? Do I even know what I'm talking about? And then I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, I do. So I do have my moments of doubt, but then I kind of ground myself, center, and get back on track to the end game.
Okay, I'm turning
Okay,
off
I'm
all my
turning off all my
because I have
because I
feedback.
have feedback.
Is it me? Maybe I should come out and come back in. You want me to try?
You don't have any
You don't
other
have
windows
any other
open, right?
windows open, right?
This?
This?
No.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Let me
yeah. Let
me try to fix the
me try
sound
to
really
fix the
quick.
sound really quick. I'll be right
No worries.
Okay, can we hear my feedback now? No. Let me see. Okay,
back.
let's
Okay,
try it.
let's try it.
Oh, can you hear me now? Is it me?
I can hear
I can hear
you.
you.
Okay, I can
Can you
hear
hear
you.
Can you hear my
I don't hear any feedback, but if it's me, let me leave and come back in.
Okay, try
Okay,
that.
try that.
Give me a second, I'll be right back.
Okay, chat. While we wait for the Bitcoin Barbie to come back, if you are not following her, What are you doing with your lives? So go and follow her. If not, all of your bags are going to go to zero. Let me see. I think that worked.
Did that work?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked.
Sometimes my phone just does that. My apologies. We're just gonna
No,
put it
it's
on
look,
Wi-Fi.
the beautiful thing about technology is that, and you're doing a live stream, not the beautiful thing, but we're going to call it beautiful just so it doesn't hate us right now. But when you're doing live stream technologies, you never know what's going to go wrong. There are days that it's going to be smooth, and then days where it just doesn't work out. And I mean, since last week I've been having a lot of tech issues, but we will push through. Now, you entered crypto early when it truly felt like the wild west. What did that environment teach you about people, not just the markets, but about the people in this space?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm coming from like the real Wild West. It was like very Hollywood story, some of the things that I had encountered. Um, we had I don't even know how much should even get into, but like we had friends that were like literally being thrown in the trunk of their cars and like thrown like basically robbed for all of their crypto back in the day. Like real stuff was happening. And like aside from that, when you even get to like more like the flip side, where people were
Mhm.
just like, now Gox is happening. You have like people who are losing their keys. And I think that, I mean, like we see that happening anyways. We've seen like that, that's a normal thing. But I think back then it was just like, you didn't really know what to do. Like it was just so few people who really like understood the ups and downs and like watching people run scams and watch it. Like this industry has had so much gray space since the beginning. And then you like even talk about stuff like Ross Ulbricht and you're seeing him get arrested and go to jail for using like facilitating a marketplace, but for Bitcoin being used as a currency. It was just, I think it was just a very interesting time to be alive. And then you're seeing like all of a sudden you have NFTs and you're like, oh, that's really cool. Like that's a cool
Mhm.
little, but what, just thinking of what the tech would be for and how to expand on everything and like just seeing like these really innovative projects that made sense. And for me also taught me a lot. Like I was not super techy before. I wasn't super into finance massively before. I had just started um, you know, getting into investing and all of that. Oh, my son's like, hold on. Here.
He's a little cutie. I see him in the pictures.
He is. He's a crazy little dinosaur. But yeah, so you can say hi. um. Anyways, yeah. So I think there was like just like a really huge understanding of like where crypto is going. And I think the coolest part is like all the things that we talked about 5-10 years ago, like where crypto could go. Um, is happening. Like we're there. So all the things that we're saying right now, I'm excited to see in 10 years from now because probably even sooner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we had all of this, like all these ideas, and now we're like they're facilitated. They're actually built. Like we're actually doing it. So
It's
yeah.
it's been a lot, right? Now, I mean, you've been open about mistakes, early sells, over leveraging. What was the lesson that changed you the most as a person, not just as an investor?
Oh wow. I think sorry. Yeah, I think as an early investor, one of the biggest things that I learned was don't we kind of got indoctrinated into this so we kind of got indoctrinated into this world very early, but into a place Zebi.
He wants to chat with us
I
too.
know, right? Can you say hi?
Say hi.
So he just woke up from his nap.
Hi,
Sorry, guys.
cutie.
But I think we got indoctrinated into this idea of huddle culture, and we're not there anymore. So I think also like believing in people more than they believed in themselves was like definitely something that we were doing in the early days. Like, oh, you're part of this industry, you're in crypto, like this is like great idea, and like you're probably actually gonna follow through. You know what I mean? Like we just were very green, I think, about certain things. So I think the biggest lesson is like you said, don't over leverage yourself, don't hold yourself in tokens. If it you know, I don't hold myself in positions. I treat this like finance. As much as there's community build and all of this stuff behind it, at the end of the day, I didn't get here to like make friends. I came here for like the build of the technology and to make money. So like, I don't know if that makes sense, but I think like that was one of the hardest habits to break, was like just holding on to supporting people who were not really interested in continuing what they were doing.
Do you think those are like life lessons, valuable lessons, although they sometimes are painful lessons, especially when you have invested your time, energy, your friendship, and then it doesn't turn out to be the way that you expect it to be, or it wasn't reciprocated?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think one of the things that I do think it's a life lesson. I think that can be applied across the board, to be honest with you. I think, and you're right, it is hard when you have to leave certain things and you think you've made friends with people, or you know, you think you're going to take it that far and then you don't actually do it. I mean, first of all, I do want to put it out there, like there's a lot of people who are trying to do things. This is why I'm not a big fan of like early, like launching too early, any projects that are like, hey, this is an idea and like you should give us your money, and like, but you haven't taken the time to already build out the infrastructure. It's like there's so many good ideas here, there's so much that we can do here, there's so much growth and room for bringing everything, literally pretty much everything from web 2 or IRL on chain. There's a chain, or there's a purpose or a use case, in my opinion, for 95% of industry. So my biggest thing, I think, is just like, yeah, like learned as an investor is like, if they've already put the work, as much work as they can in without any financial help. Because let's be serious, there's people who have great ideas, but if you're not willing to execute, you don't have the means to execute, but you have the entire structure laid out, you know what number to call, you know the purchase date, you know how long it will ship and drop, and you know whatever needs to be done is going to be done, and all you need is that capital, then that's where I can like jump on and support. But if you haven't, even if you're just like, hey, I have this really good idea, and like, you know, let's put, I'm just not there. And I think that that's not just a crypto thing, I think that's just a general investment thing anyways. Like I always say this in spaces, there's so many people who come here and they're like, hey, you should get into this token, but like if I was going to invest in someone's restaurant and you came to me and you said, oh, I'm going to open up a restaurant, you should like invest in my restaurant, I'm like, okay, cool, like what kind of food or whatever what kind of food or whatever are you going to serve at this restaurant, right? And you're like, I don't know, I have a couple ideas. And you're like, where's this restaurant going to be? Oh, I don't know, I'll think about it. Like, I'm not going to give you my money, so why would I do that in crypto? You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So I think, yeah, that's the biggest lesson, is look at how people are planned out, understand. I'm a big fan of supporting people who have successful IRL businesses or Web2 businesses, just because they have, in my opinion, more experience where they've successfully run something else, instead of just trying to rush to Web3. But again, yeah, teach their own. So yeah, I don't know. That's a couple little things around there that I feel like I've learned in this space.
We all learn something in this space eventually, right? Sometimes we don't learn it while we're going through it, but then sometimes when we're out of it, we look back and you're like, you know what? learning not to do that again or whatnot. But you build in public, which means people see both your wins and your struggles. How do you protect your peace while still staying visible?
I think I learned like a long time ago that everyone goes through things, whether or not they share them openly or whatever. So, the opinion of people and how they feel about certain things doesn't really matter to me. I'm able to pretty much block it out and just keep going. I feel like I'm humble enough to know when I'm not capable and where I need to like work and I understand. I think one of my biggest strengths has always been understanding who to put where and the right connections to make. And so that's been a whole thing. Give me a second here. I'm gonna go put him back in his room. Hopefully he'll show.
Okay. Well, she goes, puts him back in the room. Everybody, let's go to her profiles. So everybody has them. Take a look, follow her, because if you are not following Bitcoin Barbie, what the fudge are you doing with your life? So you can go ahead and follow her on X, aka formerly Twitter, and her handle is the Bitcoin Barb 1. And this is her profile. You want to follow her on LinkedIn? Oh, wait. Let me share. This is her Linktree, where she does have some information on here. Trade Smart, best online trading platforms, the cryptocurrency revolution, simple steps, her ebook, consulting, etc. And LinkedIn, I just needed to click on her profile. And you can follow her on LinkedIn as well. If you're not following her, oh, what are you doing with your... Oh, she's back.
Thank you. Sorry, guys.
Okay, and then we'll get... Thank you for your patience. You know, it's like, you got to do what you got to do, right? Live stream, real life, unscripted.
For real.
And we welcome all of the children and all of the babies on here as well if they want to make a presence. But what responsibility do you feel knowing people are watching your journey and learning from it in real time?
Ooh, again, I think it really is like humbling, because you have to admit like where your faults are, like what you can't do. It's definitely like you're living in real life. Like that's just what it is. You're just living in real time, and I think it's just one of the hardest things is having the knowledge that people have opinions about what you're doing, but reality, I think, I get a lot of really amazing messages from people like, oh, I learned so much from what you said today, or, hey, you taught me something in space. And so all of that kind of vibe and like all of that stuff, I don't want to say like it goes to your head, but it goes to your heart. So for me, it gives me like more confidence to continue going on and just being like, okay, look, yes, this didn't work out, or yes, I, worked with the wrong people, or, but I very much so spend a lot of my life just like, what did I learn from that? Instead of being like, oh, poor me, or boo hoo, or whatever, it's like, what did I learn from that? Okay, don't play with people like this, or don't do this, look out for certain things like that, or hey, you should have done this. So I'm always looking for a lesson. Sometimes things sting. There's things that sting and you get a little upset, but reality, once I let it kind of pass through, I'm like, okay, where do we go from here? What is the next step? How do we get through this obstacle? Everything's just really a problem waiting to be solved.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes too, we have to give ourselves a little bit of grace. And I think that especially in this space, you learn, and whatever you believe in, I do think that people come into our lives for a season and or long term, short term. And a lot of the times, you know, it's like when we want to elevate to the next level, sometimes we are going to continue to get the same type of people in our lives to see if we've learned our lesson before we move into our blessing. And we have to learn how to identify that and have discernment and wisdom to identify some of those traits early on. So we're not on this journey of building and then they screw us in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier said than done, right?
No, you know what? It's I love that. Like you said, like people come in, they say like for a season, a reason, a blessing or a lesson. So I totally agree with that. Even circumstances, like I said, you know, when I was younger, I was probably like a lot more reactive, but now I kind of just sit back and
Mhm.
go, okay, well, I have so much faith that God has put me on my path and my journey. And so I really do feel like, you know, even certain things that seem like I was saying before, like I'm trying to find the lesson in it or, you know, why. But sometimes even when I can't, I just go, okay, that had to happen. I don't know why. I don't know why this is
Mhm.
happening, but I trust you, God. I'm gonna put it in your hands. And when you're ready, you give it back to me. And I found like I feel like I've definitely simmered down and calmed down in terms of like being anxious or constantly having to like know what's gonna happen next over the last few years, just like really tapping into that like God source and just stepping back. And it really came from because I started to realize like, oh hey, like if that didn't happen like 8 years ago, you know, when I was and 8 years ago, I was like, why is this happening? You know, now it's like, oh, eight
Yeah.
years later, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I have the entire toolkit to resolve this issue or to take part in this community or whatever the situation. I know how to deal with this because I had this lesson 8 years ago. And 8 years ago it was a hard lesson. Maybe it broke my heart or whatever the situation is, right? Like it might have smothered me to death. And now I'm like, oh, hold on. Actually, I already know how to do this because I already went through this. So I think just with so many little things like that that have happened to me, I'm a lot more just like, all right, God, whatever, you know, whatever you got in store for me, like I trust that you've got something going on and that you have been hearing conversations that I haven't been hearing, you know, been in rooms that I'm
Yeah.
not in. So, you know, and I'm a big proponent also of like if you're not ready to receive, if you have your hands closed, you're not going to receive. And so I try to live in, and like you said, everything is easier said than done. There's always times like I'm not sitting here just like, oh, like, you know, some people who are just like delusionally happy, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not like that.
Right.
Like I feel, but I also realize like, hey, okay, cool, release and things are gonna come back in where they need to. If this wasn't it for you for long term, like you said, maybe this was just the season, maybe this was just the lesson. Now it's time to move up to your blessing.
Let go and let God, right?
Amen.
Sometimes we try to take wheel or we let go, let God, and okay, you drive, you be the driver, and then we still try to freaking navigate and drive. Then, but I do want to talk about gold back bond and the vision. So let's get into what you're building over there. What problem are you trying to solve that most people don't even realize exist? Let me bring up the.
That's a great question. This has been a huge learning lesson for me as well. I've been really learning about the bond market. So I have a lot of things that I'm still learning about, still touching on. But I think with gold back bond, what the solution really is the stability of a stable coin, but also not just based off of algorithm or just based off the U.S. Treasury. We're actually uh, backing this with an asset that is probably the strongest asset, right? We do have, uh, we basically have certification of gold bonds held in trust right now. And so that is giving us the power to bring gold into the DeFi space with the lending dynamics that holding these types of assets gives you. So I think the challenge is really just I guess jumping through like the hoops to make sure that everything is secure and safe and that, users get the experience that they're seeking. Growth and development in this season two being a bear market is definitely going to be an interesting build. We are just launching. So yeah.
So there's always tension between traditional finance and decentralized finance. Where do you see the real bridge happening?
I think we're already seeing it. And I think what's really holding back, first and foremost, I understand the DeFi world and how so many people just want this space to remain DeFi, but then they also want it to allow for the asset flow or the money flow really from TradFi to come in, and it's just not a realistic expectation. So for me, I think this season, the next wave of like what's coming on, we're gonna really see, in my opinion, more TradFi on chain, and really all that is just bringing it into the tech, right? Like at the end of the day, this is all happening because it needs to happen. It needs to be recorded differently. The ledger or the money movement needs to be recorded differently. And I don't think that blockchain or Bitcoin more specifically or DeFi were really created to give us that privacy that we're almost kind of preached. I think it's actually the opposite. So I think that these same systems are very much so valuable to TradFi. And so I think our next season, we're going to see a massive amount of stuff like gold back bond coming on board. We're already seeing perps traded. We're already seeing so much of this happen. So I think that's just going to be the continuance, especially once the Clarity Act passes. I think that'll give the green light for a lot of major corporations to pull the plug, or not pull the plug, I guess, plug in fully, lock in fully. But I'm having a sneaking suspicion that there's a lot of major corporations that are already integrating themselves either into creating their own ecosystem or their own token or blockchain, or just like the utilization within their platforms.
If you had to explain it in super simple terms for somebody that really doesn't understand the blockchain or are not in crypto, trying to get into and say that you're just talking about it to what we consider a normie, outside of this space, how would you explain what you're building?
The easiest way I think to explain it is blockchain is really just a digital ledger of all transactions made, all assets put into one place where everyone can access the recording of that asset existing. So I guess blockchain is really just, if I really want to break it down, what I do talk about or I used to teach to my students is blockchain is really like when you're playing with Legos and you built up a wall and you get to like, let's say you get to that fourth layer of Legos, you can't go back and pull out a brick from three layers below and replace it with a different size brick without trying to rebuild all the bricks. At the same time, someone else is continuously also adding more layers to the wall. So I think that's the easiest way to explain it. It's just like each block is a transaction. It's data of transactions that have transpired.
And how would you incorporate? So say that I know nothing, right? And then I'm just listening to this and I'm watching this and you're like, okay, this is gold, or this is what you're building on the blockchain. The world's largest reserve stablecoin. Why would I invest in this instead of the traditional way, buying gold the traditional way?
That's a great question. So with traditional gold, there's a few things, right? You can either store it at your home, which could be, risky, or if you're having a lot, you would be paying for your security or either in a vault or in a security deposit box. But then you also still need to go and ask someone for access to that gold. You're not walking around every day with, hunks of gold in your bag trying to chisel off the right amount to pay for your groceries. Gold is a store of value. The difference with what we're doing here is that we're putting the asset on chain, and we're creating a stable token out of it that can be traded immediately for Bitcoin or USDT, Tether, whatever you choose to, through a DeFi platform. So like Uniswap or Hyperliquid, and I believe we'll be moving into sexes right away as well. So, and that's centralized exchanges for those of you guys who don't know. Yes, I think the easiest way is that you're exposing yourself to gold while still giving yourself the ability to travel and loan, and all of the good things, basically all of the capabilities of having gold bonds or investments in gold give you without the extra fees of security or storage, as well as basically the time that it takes to, like, if you want to go and sell gold, you now have to go somewhere physically and sell it. You got to get, so there's so many different aspects to physical gold that are great, right? Like, I'm not saying, hey, don't ever touch gold or whatever, but it's just another way to expose yourself to the market with a little bit more leniency.
Now, and you're saying that you're going live. It's not, so you can't buy this. It's safe to say a token?
It is a token, correct? Yes. Yeah.
And when do you go live? Like, when can people buy it?
We're in seed round right now, and just bringing investors and whatnot on. And so I think, I mean, like, we're basically live already. So investors can come in if you wanted to DM me. Sorry. If you wanted to DM me or set up a meeting with myself and my business partner, we can get in or get you in and involved. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So yeah, I think the best way would just be to get let's set up a meeting. And right now, like, we're in pre-sale mode right now. And so once we go fully live and actually drop the CA for everybody, then you'll be able to move a little bit faster on it. It's like, it's just
And what chain are you dropping it in?
It's on like a layer 0, but basically ETH.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's layer 0. We're using Uniswap, so we'll have multiple avenues.
I like that. So you're multi-chain.
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go and check it out even more, because I do see here it's okay. You have the Uniswap.
Correct. Actually, it might have
just showing, and then
it may be live. I know that if we do like a pre-sale price, we do have, like, for early investors, and we do have a pre-sale price at basically 80 cents on the dollar right now. And that's basically, we're building, as you can tell, we're still building up, still building everything, but we lock that in through staking. And you're able to actually, the cool thing about this is that with these tokens, you can actually bring these to a lender. And, like, we're partnered with several lenders. If you bring that to the lender, they will look at that as like a 3-to-1 value and loan up to 70% of that loan to like 3-to-1 value. So let's say, for example, you're getting in, you're buying, we'll say easy numbers, right? $1,000 worth. Because the way that gold is set up, and you gotta excuse me here because I'm still learning the bond market. So there is so many things when I came onto this project that I'm like, I don't know all the answers. My partner is like, wait, and I'm like, again, humility, right? Like, I don't know everything. I'm still learning.
Yeah. You know what? I love when people are truthful and say, you know what? I'm still learning. I'm still educating myself. I don't know everything, but if anybody has questions, we'll get back to you, versus where you try to give an answer and uneducated response, an answer to something that you're still very
Green through,
new.
yeah,
I think
yeah. Sorry.
no, that creates more trust. No, don't apologize. I'm looking through this too. So because I'm looking and learning, this is something new. It's like I don't have that many questions. It's like once you go through everything and then you understand. But I mean, this is so interesting that you guys are doing, premium lending, 70% of the loan to value.
Yeah, that's something that's really cool. And again, so a lot of this for me was like, well, what do you mean people buy bonds? Wait, what are bonds? How does bond market work? Like it was just right from the get go. But yeah, because I've come to learn now that because gold bonds are basically the strongest bond to hold in the world, if you hold and you don't actually have like the gold bonds, your tokens are not gold bonds, right? But it's basically saying that you have uh, tokens that equate to the certification of these. So you have the ability to take that, go to one of our partner lenders, like I said, and get a loan against it, which is what people are doing in the bond market currently. So it's just very interesting, that this is happening. This is just one of those things again that's like, okay, TradFi is coming. That's why I feel really strongly about that, because as the more I learn about how TradFi works and all of that, I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. This is what's happening over here. This is what's happening over here. And now I'm starting to like piece together that whole side of everything. Whereas, yeah, it's been interesting. This season's definitely been interesting. I've learned a lot.
Okay, so now your calculator, it automatically already tells people here if they want to put an amount up for collateral, how much the loan terms, let's change it to 36. And then, so is the interest rate a fixed rate for every single amount across the board, depending on the selected lender?
I believe it's 9% biannually. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's either 9% annually or biannually. I think that's the correct amount. And I'm pretty sure it's fixed, but that would be definitely a question I would have to verify on again.
Okay. Awesome. This is so freaking interesting. Okay, so now I know that we're getting close to top of the hour, and I do want to have a few more questions and do a rapid fire with you. So you've shared moments of reflection, reminding yourself that once that you once prayed for the life you're living now. How has gratitude shaped the way that you move today?
Oh, I love this. I think the world moves so fast that sometimes we forget like that we are where we wanted to be. And yeah, I've definitely seen that a million times. Mexico is one of those things. I definitely I think maybe like 2017-ish, I was like, I would love to just get up and move with my kids to I was actually thinking Colombia. Mexico happened because of COVID, but I like originally I was like, I would love to start off in Colombia and live there for like a year and then pick up and move to another country and live there for a year and just like whatever I could do. But I came to Mexico and I kind of got, stuck here. I've been here for 5 years now. So, sometimes you just lock into life and that's just what life becomes. And you're like, I don't know if Mexico is my forever place, but, I feel like, yeah, in terms of constantly thinking ahead and going, okay, this is what I want. I think goal setting, even if it's just very simple, just say it to yourself. But I think I'm also a mover and shaker on a lot of things because I'm like, okay, listen. Like when I first moved to Mexico, I lived in Playa del Carmen, which is like a beach town. There's like 100,000 people there, and I'm from Toronto, so that's like the neighborhood. You know?
Yeah.
But so yeah, it was like very, very small. And I said to myself, I was like, I give myself 2 years. And like almost to the date I came to Mexico City, I was like, I need to go to a city. I need to get out of here. I give myself 2 years to organize myself to figure out where I want to be. And yeah, so last year I moved to Mexico City, which was, it's been an adventure of its own. It really has. And so yeah, But that mentality of just like, where am I going to be? Where do I want to be? I have a mantra that I really do live by. And I think when you slow down life, but also speed up your thought process, you have this like ability to achieve anything. And really, so like, I think, where do I want to be in 20 years from now? Right. And
Mhm.
I'll break it down like, okay, well, where do I need to be in 10 years if I want to be to my 20-year goal? Okay, well, where do I need to be in 5 years if I want to hit my 10-year goal? Where do I need to be at this year, or what do I need to be doing this year that brings me closer to that 5 year? So I can just automatically think or move myself in that direction. So, I mean, definitely gratitude is something that you need to hold on to. You need to be thankful for those milestones because we are moving a mile a minute, right? So even if you have some great big plan, you do still have to like stop and be thankful and grateful and like, hey, like I did actually already accomplish this. These are all the things I have done. I'm notorious for my sticky notes. I think this is a really interesting way to like, I have, a big jar of sticky notes and I have sticky notes all over my desk area. It's like, okay, I have accomplished that. Let me take it off and put it into my jar. And it just becomes a visual of like all the things I actually have done. So sometimes you have to remind yourself to be grateful, right? Like sometimes for me, it's a visual reminder. For me, it's a lot of
Mhm.
visual, but when you have that opportunity, like pat yourself on the back, pat yourself on the back and know that you have been working and look at where you've come from and where you're going and look at the juxtaposition of where you are. And even sometimes, like I was saying before, if it's somewhere maybe that's bad or isn't like you're not where you wanted to be, you mentioned it. I think that you said like sometimes you're just like you're not ready for it. You're not quite ready to get
Mhm.
there. So take in why you're not ready and who you need to be that person that you're like striving to be and what you're doing wrong and just take like accountability or like account for yourself and your actions and what you're doing. And I think that massively can contribute as well to like being grateful. So when you start noticing and you have awareness, it gives you the opportunity to like go. I don't know. I kind of went on a tangent. Sorry.
What has motherhood taught you about risk, ambition, and legacy, especially because you do have, a small baby and moving from one country and then to another and then to another and then settling for a little bit. And the reason that I asked that question too is because sometimes I have had the urge, that where I am, I don't feel like that's my forever place. Like I want to travel, I want to move, I want to experience different worlds. So that goes back to the question, too, being a mother, what has that taught you about risk, ambition, and legacy?
Yeah, I think there's this like when you become a mother, there's this like gnawing urge to make sure that your kids have like the best. And so I
Mhm.
think when you start being meaningful and intentful with what you want to do and how you want your kids to live or grow up, I think like yeah, you take the risks, right? They're calculated risks. Some people are
Yeah.
just really comfortable. Sorry. um, some people are really comfortable, but I think like one of the best things I ever did for my kids was bring them to a country where they are learning new languages. Like my older ones have moved back now, but like my second son is like fluent in Spanish and he's learned how to live an entire other lifestyle, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. um
He's like ready.
he's like, no mom, I need you. But yeah, I think your risk tolerance changes. Like, and it's not like are you willing to take more risk? It's like, what are you willing to risk? What are you willing to like put in, and what is the desired outcome?
Yes. Okay, I'll ask you one more question before you have to go. And because I know baby back there, when he's calling, they're calling and they're not going to leave you alone. But years from now, when people look back at your story, what do you hope they say you change? Hope they say you changed or stood for?
I think I want them just to acknowledge that I really came here to this industry with a fresh mind, and I think the biggest thing is just that I've showed people that no matter where you come from, no matter what your background is, no matter if you were educated in finance prior or if you come from working at the deli or whatever your situation, is really
Yeah.
just like more so, it's not where you came from, it's where you're going, and you can make that happen. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. This is unscripted. Everything goes. Barbie, do you want to leave us with any last parting words or any words of wisdom, encouraging to anybody that is watching, might want to do life change or step into the space, or, maybe on the verge of quitting?
I think just keep going. Come up with a plan. Keep coming up with plans, and if something doesn't work, keep trying. If it's not going to work or you can't figure it out, bring someone else in. Or lastly, just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. If you what you thought was going to be at the beginning isn't what's going to be, that's fine. Go slow.
Thank you again, Barbie, for coming onto the show Unscripted and staying true to everything that you've done, sharing your story of resilience, reinvention, and what it really looks like to create your own lane in a space that never stands still. So thank you for being unscripted with us today, and I'll let you go so you can get back to the baby because
Sorry. I love it.
Okay.
Ciao.
Yes, we'll see you later. Take care. Bye, everyone. Have a good evening and stay unscripted.